Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Beautiful Church podcast. Very excited today to have another awesome nonprofit leader here in studio with us. We have from Hope for the Inner City, Anthony Watkins. Anthony, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Adam. Glad to be here.
And then we're going to get into what your organization does in a moment. But first, I just want people to know who you are. So let's start back as far as you want. Where are you originally from, though?
Sure. Born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indianapolis, Indiana, which is a super cool town if you have not been there. I mean, what is that? It's that huge memorial to the soldiers and sailors. Is that what it is?
It's the monument. It's the center of the state. Indianapolis is the capital of Indiana. And right in the middle, they have that kind of apex north, south, east, west. So right in the middle, you have this huge monument, and it's a circle. And so when you head straight down Meridian, which is, like I said, the divide, you can't miss the monument. You're going to run right into it.
It's awesome. And then cool. I think Salesforce is located there, stuff like that.
Salesforce is a couple of blocks from the monument. Yep. We've got Indianapolis 500, of course, the Brickyard. So it's a state that call us Hoosiers. I actually don't know the origin. But
that's named after a famous African-American pastor.
Really?
Hoosier. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Unless I'm off. Yeah, he was actually one of the most fabulous American preachers, and he was just absolutely famous. I believe that's what Hoosier's named after.
You just kind of pegged me. I'm gonna have to dive into that.
Well, I actually am only a little insecure because I haven't fact checked that in a long time. So now it's out there for everyone to just go. Now you have to find out.
Check it out.
Yeah. Okay. So grew up there.
I grew up there, and let me run for a while. I guess a little bit. My folks are from Kentucky. So I think I have some Southern in me.
Yeah,
it's on the borderline.
Yeah, quasi.
Father's from Cadiz, Northwest Kentucky. My mom's from Horse Cave, a little town south of Louisville.
Cream corn, Kentucky cream corn. Did they make that growing up?
All day.
So it's actually maybe it's just a fabulous, amazing thing. I've got a lot of family from Kentucky, and there actually is a difference with Kentucky farm grown cream corn and everything else that you've ever tasted in your life.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So I only bring that up because my dad's side, we were farmers. I include myself in that because I spent my summers down in Cadiz, Kentucky.
Okay.
And large farm, soy, corn, tobacco. Some of the best times I had was hanging tobacco in the barn. So, you go out there, you top them, you throw them on the wagon. And then my uncle says, y'all going to break a leg because we get up in the rafters and it's like an assembly line. They just throw them up. And when we get so full, we have to jump from one to the other. So that was his fear that we would fall. Wow. We were probably 16, 20 feet up, but it was a ball. And I just loved being in the country. I loved the food. I loved the people and, the outside, just nature. Amazing.
Now, I know this about you, so I'm going to bring it up, even though it has nothing really to do with why we've got you in here today.
Yeah.
But you're a chef, right?
So I am.
Okay, so speak a little bit to that. Didn't you tell me one time you make ratatouille?
It's my favorite dish of all time.
Yeah. Okay, so I just got to ask you, ratatouille. What? It's not just a movie with rats that's done by Pixar. Or Dream? What I forget who did it. It's Pixar, right?
Pixar it was. Yeah. Well, the story short, I was youth pastor at a church in Munster, Indiana. It's kind of where after I left school, went north. Landed there. Our Christian ed said something about we're doing movie night. There's this movie called Ratatouille. Can you make it? I'm going like, what is that? And, watched the movie. It was fun. And I thought, well, I can do that. And made some ratatouille and didn't make a ton, but it was gone really fast. So it went over well. So I guess over time I perfected what I call my ratatouille in a version of the way it's normally cooked and prepared. But it's just good eats. And so that's how, when I wanted to do something special, some of my clients got to know me and said, make me your special. What do you want? What's your favorite? And I would make that. It was kind of like people go like, I didn't know. That's a keeper. It's things like that. It's kind of where it came from. But I go back to the country. I mean, I had aunts and uncles. Uncle was a chef. Mama Lucy, my grandmother, to this day, I don't think anybody could outcook her in anything.
And she probably used no recipes.
No recipes.
Everything to taste and in her head.
I mean, there's so many stories on the farm I can talk about that led me to always being in the kitchen.
Right.
With eyes in the back of her head. I'm trying to get something. Anthony, don't you do that. And her back is to me and we're all like,
yes.
I'm always thinking, how's she know? But I stayed in that space often. And sometimes I had to hit the back door running because I was in a little trouble, but it was fun. And food is fun. So it's kind of became easy, the culinary school and the idea, as I said to my wife in the kitchen at church one day doing a spaghetti dinner. My youngest son was 3 years old. I looked at her and said, I think I want to be a caterer when I grow up. And she just looked at me like, the wives give you the look.
Right.
And she said, well, when he graduates from high school, you can do your thing. I said, deal. 2012, he graduated, started culinary school, started just masking recipes, just all those things. I had 15 years to prepare for that moment. So I made the best of it.
Okay. So from becoming going to culinary school and everything else like that, and a trained chef, how did you end up here in Chattanooga doing what you're doing?
Oh, wow. It's amazing. We were in Grand Rapids, Michigan when we moved to Chattanooga.
And do a timeout real quick because I don't know that everyone knows, but that's almost like the Nashville of the North, not for music, but for Christian publishing. Maybe a Colorado Springs.
No, it's close. I would say Colorado Springs bigger.
Okay.
But Zondervan's right there.
Yeah.
My kitchen was very close to their location. So, you got Calvin College. You just got, it's a lot of, it's CRC country, Reformed Christian Reformed. So,
Dutch Reformed. The phrase, if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. Yeah. They think they're so good, those tall Dutch people. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. You know a little bit about it.
Well, my wife's from Michigan. She's from the other side of the state, but you encounter them. I got love for those.
Hey, I think I was inducted. I did something funny. I had a coupon for one of the restaurants, and I tell you, Dutch, the whole mindset, being frugal to the nth degree. It was like,
to the nth degree.
Oh my gosh. And I did something and I got like, well, you got to have Dutch in you for that. I'm going like, done. And I was accepted, so you just work with
one
what
of us.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you were in Grand Rapids and then you eventually?
She was working at an organization called Mission India. She was at CLA, which is a Christian conference that takes place in Texas, I believe, Dallas. And she came back and said, there was an opportunity I was looking at and it would be an up for me. It'd be a promotion. And going like, okay, where's it at? Chattanooga. And I remember saying, what? I was like, it's one of those words, first thing, like, how do you spell it? Was the first thing I thought about. I let it go, and I didn't think anything was going to happen of it. But
can I do a timeout? You hadn't heard of Chattanooga? It was just a bizarre town name to you?
Yeah.
I'll take that. I could see that, especially a few years ago. We've now gotten on a few magazine articles, kind of a thing, because we're so cool now. But I grew up in Atlanta area, and so of course you know about Chattanooga. But I could see.
Well, I think going to Atlanta was just a bypass. I just didn't pay that much attention. It was a town we were in, we were out, we were going through. My focus was Atlanta,
right,
and things like such. And like I said, family in Kentucky. Oftentimes would take 65 coming back this way. So I saw a little bit of Tennessee, but for me, literally was like
Chatta what?
Yeah, and I how do you spell it? I couldn't even spell it right off the top of my head. I had to think about that for a minute. So that's why I say it's like Chatta what? So
okay,
but she had an opportunity. The opportunity became reality. She started working at Precept Ministries in 2015, in August of 2015. I was still in Grand Rapids at the time, but part of me wanted to stay in Grand Rapids because I had took 15 years to get my business. I've been in it for 3 years, and now I got to go. Challenge, right? The battle was on. It's like, maybe she won't like it, and maybe she'll come back home. But it didn't work out. So I moved here, sold the business first, so I wouldn't be homeless, and then sold the house. And in October 2016, I landed in Chattanooga.
Okay. So then from there, why didn't you go start a restaurant business here in town instead of getting into ministry? How'd you get into ministry instead of the restaurant business?
Well, if I back up a little bit, when I was youth pastor, when I was asked to do Christian ed, I'd said to my pastors, like, I have enough problem raising my own kids. You want me to get in front of other people's kids and teach them? And they said, yes, we love just like who you are. And I said, well, I need learning. And that's when I went to, at the time, the Presbytery had a lay pastor school where basically the goal was to get people prepared to pulpit supply, manage mostly everything a pastor would do. Couldn't do communion and baptism, but everything else. So it was a 2-year process. So in the learning, my faith grew, to a point. And I say to a point because there's other times in my life what really pushed me over. And this is amazing. It's kind of providence. I can speak today. Today, I'm 25 years old. And it's because October 24th of 99, I accepted Christ in my life 100%. I confessed, made him my Lord. And so I've been journeying since then to be closer and near to him as I walk these grounds. So
about how old were you then?
right now?
No, back then.
Well, I guess the math would speak for itself. I was 43 years old when I accepted Christ. And prior to that, I accepted a role in the church because getting families, kids, you want them to be involved. We figure that's the greatest place to ground them in and to help us as parents to be right with them. So it was kind of like these little nubs, stop here, stop there. Or if I do that, I've got to do this. And so that's kind of how things happen.
Okay. So then back in Chattanooga, and ending up moving into ministry, how'd that happen?
Give you the timeline. I'm a real timeline guy. So evident, 2016, October, Hope for Inner City had an urban conference. Now, I didn't know who John Perkins was at the time, but I had a friend who was going to speak at the conference, and it was just timing. He said, hey, I'm going to be in Chattanooga. And so I showed up at Hope for the Inner City to go see Rudy. And in the midst there, I got there early. I don't like being late, so I got there early so I can get some time with him, and before he went to work or speak and all that. I met John Perkins in a 20-minute talk, and then after I hear him give the keynote speech he had, it's like I walked out of there going like, I thought I knew how to care for people.
Mm.
And I listened, and it rested on me. I haven't seen caring like what they were doing and what John was talking about. So that was this kind of, when you think about school and high school. So October of 2016, I have this experience. I went to their fundraiser that spring. It was probably the largest gift we've ever given because I told my wife, I have to fill this. I just can't give. It's got to be noticeable. Mm. And then if you fast forward 4 years, December of 2020, the changes of things getting involved, I became executive director then. So it's like being in high school. I was a freshman and you go through stuff. When I got here, after about 6 months, I worked at Launch, which supported, minorities and the idea of helping them with starting a business, entrepreneurship, and having to start a business. And I've had a few other ventures I've done in the past. In the midst of all that, it was just a great place to be, to fit in. And my boss, Hal, was pretty amazing because I had gotten on the board at Hope for the Inner City probably spring of 18, and just working through the involvement, like I said, it became my ministry. My wife and I have always been very intentional about our giving. People call all the time and they ask. I was a sales guy. I always asked, so I understood that. But we figured instead of saying or making something up or whatever, the excuse, lie, whatever that is, well, I can't help you right now, we just decided that each of us would have a ministry that would touch our hearts and we would give. And there was anything in between. That's spare change, but we would actually be very intentional about a ministry, and Hope was mine. And my wife fell in love with Love's Arm, with Mimi Nichols and what they're doing. So those are the folks we loved on by, being generous as we could. And that's just all those things that were going on. And there was some transition going on at Hope and on the board as things moved along. And it's a much longer story, but in essence, when transition happened, we really couldn't afford to pay a full-time person to fill the role. And like I said, Hal was very generous with me and with volunteering my time to just operationally see things go and keep the ball rolling. And I got to say, going to Hope in December 2020, it was a calling. And I've never had an opportunity in my life where I felt the Lord was actually saying, this is where you have to be. Mm. And I quit Hope in November. Actually, in October, it was the 30th of October. And the board meeting was 2 weeks after that. I resigned. I happened to be chair at the time. I resigned from there. And I started at Hope in December 2020. So a lot of unknowns for me. But I believe my decision was based on what I believe. God equips us for things we know and things we don't know. And I didn't know if I could do the job, but I knew I had to be there. It was the call to go there. And it was just strong in my heart. So I did.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it even started with almost this, it sounds like an electrifying experience of having been there and being hit by people hear need stories all the time, but that doesn't mean that they're so moved. And then even saying, you had to give in such a way financially that it struck you. And I think of Jesus's words, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Sounds like your heart was already there, but you wanted to move your heart there even more. as a result of giving? There was just something like it's like you just sounds like you were compelled here.
I would say, I mean, like I said, it was our single largest gift ever. And my phrase was simple. I said, and then I said, we have to feel this. It has to make a difference. Mm. You know, you can give $100, you spend that in the weekend. You give a larger amount, you're taking away from something for something else.
Right.
And that something else happened to be at the time. It was like, I love what they're doing. Like I said, back to the very beginning, I care for people. I love people. I'm an extrovert, love talking, love sharing, getting to know folks. But that October meeting John, bought a book, read a book, went to the banquet, just see the evolution of it all. Showed up in 2016. By 2018, I'm on the board. I didn't go planning on that. And actually, I told him 3 times I don't want to be on the board because I didn't have a really good taste of what board people were like. Because all the stuff I heard is, look at me, I'm on the board. And it's like, it's just all folly to me. And I thought, I don't need that. Didn't need that. But again, God has plans for us and we never know. And I say in more recent years, I try to be more present than ever because he's always speaking to us. And most of the time we're not hearing him. So I'm trying to be very intentional in regards to trying to hear what you have me do in my life. And so it began.
So it was a bit of a watershed moment even for your relationship with God. Very, very interesting. Yeah. And, it's just, I love that you're telling this part of the story because I think, people that are in various different kinds of ministry, we have different kinds of people that are doing ministry, leading ministry here. And I just don't forget to be praying for people to have these kinds of encounters with God, that just call them, pray that God would send workers into the fields. Here's an example of a supernatural working on you. I mean, it sounds like you almost got blindsided with it.
Yeah, it was. I didn't see it coming, if you want to, in that sense of the word.
Yeah.
I would describe it. I love movies. So when I say I don't like TV, what I don't like are commercials. But I love TV. In the sense of movies, I can pick what I want without being disturbed, in a sense, right?
Okay.
And so Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
One of the greatest films ever. And just fun fact, it was out in theaters when I was born.
Oh.
Which is what, I feel a special connection to I was like it was number one in the box office when I was born because it's solid.
Yeah. It's funny. The movie's been around a long time, and I actually had a chance to go.
Is that an old guy joke?
It's an old guy joke.
Oh man,
but I had a chance to actually go to Petra and see where they filmed that.
Man,
in my journey, so to say. But the scene where Harrison Ford is at this gully, divide.
So hold on, that is movie buff here. That's you're talking about Last Crusade.
The Last
Crusade is the one with Petra.
Yeah, that's the Last Crusade. Did I say that? Because I love them all. But yeah, that scene where he, in his head's reciting what his father had written, something about
the penitent man shall pass.
Yes. And take that first step. Yep. And he took it. That's how, the feeling I had about resigning and talking to the board and accepting, it was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it. And I took a step. And that's how it felt. I mean, that's the visual. Yeah. It was like, I thought, if you're going to trust, you got to trust. And I did. And I can't say it's been one of the best decisions in my life, just in what's happened over the last 3 years.
Excellent. All right. Well, then let's get into a little bit about what Hope for the Inner City does.
Sure. Hope for the Inner City has been around a little over 50 years in some iteration. So it started back in 1972.
Okay.
Randy Neighbors, he has a whole story. If you've not heard him, that might be worth a podcast. But he came, went to Covenant. He was doing Bible study down on Metro Street at the Y. The Chapman family, Mimi and Al were doing some things, but there was a connection. So I don't know. I still yet to meet a Chapman because I want to sit down and actually hear from them how all that happened. But they started a Bible study and things just kept going. Randy's college, seminary, he does what he does. And in the midst of that, he started like a mercy ministry. He started something to help people. Mercy. How do you care for people? You don't have a lot, you need a lot. What does it look like? So that was where his heart and head was. Started this mercy ministry. And I think it was called Inner City Missions, Inc. And so that started in 1972.
Okay.
Okay. Randy goes on to do other things. New City Fellowship was formed. He became the pastor there. And Randy's a real idea guy. That's what I love about him. He'll just come up with an idea. If you can get someone to run with it, he said, okay, you got to go. And he's off, right? So he's always moving, trying to develop things. But he started Hope for Chattanooga with the idea of economic development, community development, and an element of that in the community. So they had a place down in McCauley, working with different stakeholders, people in the community around rehabbing homes. They actually had Bombay construction. They built rehab, did things like that. And that's where the urban mission teams took birth. And it sends teams that would come and want to serve an urban environment, actually understand what urban is. Churches, youth groups would come, and they were the hands and feet. They were laborers working along the team that they had here locally. Mm. And so that was in 90s, 97, 96, somewhere around there. That's the one day I'm fuzzy on, within 2 or 3 years of that. But in 2007, like a lot of things happen, hardship comes, the ministry, inner city ministries needing some help. Randy's still involved. He's saying, we got to figure out something. And the idea of merging inner city ministries with Hope for Chattanooga, it actually happened in December 2007. Inner city ministry.
No, I did not know.
Hope for Chattanooga created, and Hope for the Inner City gave birth at that point. So, like I said, about 3 iterations. You got one ministry where the guy started an idea, he had a different idea, started another ministry, and then get to a point you bring these ministries together. And so since 2007, there's been Hope for the Inner City.
Now, I just want to say a timeout real quick. Chattanooga, with all of the nonprofits that we have around town, I personally feel that we could use some mergers. Because I think that we could multiply effort by having better collaboration and less duplication. But that's a sidetrack. But that's just a hopeful story. Hearing that, that's very interesting to me.
It's funny you say that because it's more than a story. I mean, since I've been there, I like to say there's phrases, mantras, ways of thinking, things you want to keep in mind all the time. Mm-hmm. Being there 3 years now, we help a lot of people on a weekly basis. Meaning, sometime immediate needs, sometime other needs that take a little time to get through. But at the same time, as to your point, there's a lot of other ministries trying to do the same thing. We have our focus. You have your focus. So if I've got a gap, it makes sense to me. And so the phrase I'm going to share with you, we help people who help people, and we also help people who are helping people. And so it's that multiplication factor.
Yeah.
If I know what I can do really well, Adam, if you were doing a ministry, a nonprofit, you're doing it really well, but we're doing different things. Trusted each other. We work together because we're trying to serve a community. I could send John to you because I can trust you would take care of John because you have what he needs.
Right.
The relationship I have goes to you. And just multiply that 10 times. As we each are serving community, the people we're serving will see how the community itself is trying to help and serve them. Everybody has their place and their space, and they do it well. We can really start changing. And this is something you'll see on our website where you're just going to update it, but I want people to know our goal is to change lives and transform communities. We start with one and just let the numbers speak for themselves. And as to do the same thing with other ministries, the same thing happens. And then on the collective side, community can see, well, the community cares. I mean, it's like the phrase, they don't know you care until they see that you care. I mean, so Let's bring a lot of ministries together, focused on what they do well, and help the people that need help. And when I know I can't do anything for you any further, I know where I can send you to continue your growth, trying to reach some kind of sustainability or whatever the issue is, make it a little better. So I think that's wise. I think we should do more of that because there's so many nonprofits in Chattanooga.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a problem.
It's a combination of both,
coordinating our efforts. So speak a little bit, how do you change some of those lives on the individual basis, and how do you see that working? Just sort of speak more to precisely what you guys do, is give people sort of like the full-orbed picture of what you do.
We're talking about the doing. What do we do?
Yeah.
And so what Hope's been known to do, I want to say, has been the one word that goes back to mercy. So helping people, financial assistance, for instance. So I must say financial assistance. I help you with EPB. I help you with utilities, your rent, mortgage. We have so much we can do. You want to serve as many people as you can. So any one person that comes to us at one time, we can give them $250 towards a bill. We interview them, we have a discussion. You have to be wise, be frugal, good stewards of money.
Dutch.
So
you got to be a little Dutch.
Hey, I guess I got it in me because, if you got $1,000 bill and I got $250, that's not going to help you. We're just not going to be able to help you. But if your bill's $300 or $400, we try to be so absolute. We try to figure out if we can. And so we've been doing it long enough. The utilities, the community, we can pledge an amount. So that was a big part of what we did. I can say last 2022 was about $36,000 on an annual basis, what we would have put out. Last year, we kind of started reframing our thought, and I'll get to that later. We also, because of COVID, funding in the city, a lot of the foundations was trying to just giving money away. Can you feed people?
Right.
We had a pantry, but it wasn't a thing that was a daily or weekly effort. It was like if someone came in for a bill, they needed something, we could help them with some food. But we had funding, and we started buying food to help those who didn't have food. And I can say the evolution of that has gone from buying food to not have to buy food. We created some partnerships in the community. I can talk to them: Chick-fil-A, Whole Foods, Panera Bread, Starbucks, and Gordon Food Services. So we got 5 community retailers who are actually helping us give food to the community where the need is.
Some of those leftovers it's just amazing how much leftover food there is in America.
Being a sales guy, you understand it's no different from one industry to the other. You get something in, it's going to keep coming in. Something's got to go out. So in the grocery business, my father-in-law was in that. So I understood it well, whether it was good or bad. And if it's bad, expiration has to go.
Yeah.
But they still have a schedule. And when the shelf is full and you got a truckload coming, you got to make space for the newer stuff. So we get really good food from
leftover Chick-fil-A. I know it rarely happens in anyone's life.
Yeah.
But it still tastes good.
It still tastes good.
Yeah, it still tastes good.
So we manage it well. I mean, again, I got a food background with my catering service, ServSafe certified. So we got
the Dutch background, and we've got the honorary Dutch, whatever, and the food. Okay.
Yeah. So those things, again, we don't get anybody sick. We don't make it any worse than they are. But we're able to give out. Right now, we're doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's no barriers. If you come in, there's an intake form. What's your name and how can we pray for you? The first 2 questions we ask, and then we go through the litany of things that we just want to know who they are. We have enough other services that we're going into that if it seems like we can have a conversation with them later, we can contact them, say, maybe we can help you in some other way than just giving you food. Because if they need food, there's other things going on. There's something else deeper that says, I've got to go someplace to get something to eat. So can we help you with some of those other things? And so food, the Mercy Ministry, urban mission teams. So summertime, as we begin this season, we're probably impact about 15 to 20 homes. We do, particularly with seniors. We have a real focus on seniors in our community. They own a home, can't afford to keep the home up, it gets in disarray. So when we have these mission teams come in, we have right now probably about 4 project managers, men who are skilled and understand how to renovate, repair, upkeep, that sort of thing, will be leads on the groups going out and managing the problems that homeowners have. We'll paint a home, we'll put a deck in, a wheelchair ramp. We don't do any interior work. That's just, how you open that can, you get inside of it, it gets a whole lot deeper, it costs a whole lot more.
Yep.
And so we don't
and that doesn't always affect the stability of the house and it being there for long.
So, you think about that. So we go through some seasonal things that we do. And like I said, we're just, we had our 2 guys who are out today going through the applications, looking at the site, making sure we understood what's going to be done so we can orderly say when June starts, first weekend in June, be our first mission team, and they go all the way to August. So every other week we've got teams coming in and we just touch as many homeowners as we can. We have about $1,000 per home we can allot to those homeowners. And if it gets more than that, sometimes we just can't accept the work because we're trying to do, the impact is doing as much as you can. And sometimes the projects are just too costly and just, I want to say liability comes into play. I start thinking like, if we go there, we might not do so good. Because again, it's laborers, it's high school kids and college kids.
Right.
So those are the dues that we do. We have a dental clinic and we have a vision clinic. So both those opportunities are to say, if you have no insurance, you can come to us. Vision clinic's brand new. I've got some folks in communities that just love what we do and had an idea. And we say, hey, well, let's work it out. And, December 22, we did a ribbon cutting ceremony and opened up the vision clinic. Doctors from both dental and vision volunteer their time to care for the community. To get glasses, you know how much glasses can cost. It can be $3, $5, it can be a lot of money. $15 with the prescription written, with the visit, everything, exam. They walk away and they can see.
Wow.
In a dental clinic, it's just trying to extractions. We do a few other things, cleaning, things like that. But again, we're recently right now updating the clinic to see if we can do a few more things than we've been able to do in the past. So we got Mercy, we have food, we have the dental, we have the vision clinic, and we do the UMTs. So that's kind of what people know that we do. And this year, last August, I asked the team the question because I was asked a question. So a funder said one day, you guys are killing it. You're doing a great job. You do this, you do this, you do this. And then he said, what's next?
Yes.
And you know, when something rests on you, it's almost like it haunts you like, what do you mean? What's next?
It's so hard already.
Yeah, we're doing a lot.
Yeah.
But it raised the question back too. Brian Fickard and some guys wrote a book on when helping hurts. And when he said that, and it rested on me, it's kind of like, are we really doing the good we need to do? You know, Mercy is great. Mercy can be a number of things. You know, the vision of dental, all those things are still there. But what happens next, and what we weren't doing enough of, is actually going deeper with the folks that come to us. We believe that the relationship is more important. And we say we pray for folks. You know, I got a role I want to fill. I want to pastor. I want to do more than that. I want to evangelize. I want to start building disciples. And we've got people right there, hungry enough, not just for food. But I think if we can be intentional with that, we can go deeper. So our idea this year is changing from just giving to training. You know, give a man a fish.
Right.
You know, he keeps coming back and asking for the fish. He might get upset if you don't give him 2 fish. But at the end of the day, we can teach him how. So the goal is trying to figure out what the how is. Why are you coming for food? Why are you coming for assistance? What else is happening? So in the midst of that, it's just a shift we're going to take to put more emphasis on training people, call it educating people on where they are. We're doing Tech Goes Home, computer literacy, trained site with Chalmers to do work life, and also faith and finance. So we've had 2 faith and finance classes already. So we're just shifting. We're not going to stop all the things. We're going to kind of like really just manage it out, change it a little bit, give a little less for those who want to help themselves, give them a little more to help them along the way too.
Right.
But we think we can solve problems by, if you can manage your money better. George and Mabel, they work and they still can't afford something. So something needs to be looked at. And I had one gentleman that came, it's crazy. 64 years old, you know, wanted to take faith and finance. He has and I try to spend time with him where I can. And I sat down and talked to him about, why are you here? And he just says, well, ultimately, what you guys do, first off, he said, what you do is amazing. You know, you've helped me in a number of ways. But when you offered this class, it gave me hope in a way that I can make a change in my life. He wants to move to a safer neighborhood. But he's been looking at areas, zip codes and stuff, I can't afford to where I want to go. So about 4 or 5 weeks into the class just recently, he said, you know, I'm already saving $30 more a month just by attending this class. He's looking at how he's spending his money. And he's already pushed save more than he has with the idea, if I can keep getting better at this, understand this more, maybe I can have that dream, have a new home,
right,
be in a safer neighborhood.
Yeah.
So to me, that's impact, you know, and this is a senior group that we have. There's just a lot in our 2 focus zip codes and kind of around where hope is. Over 50% of the community is seniors. So, I mean, when you try to figure out who you're serving, you know, who should we serve? We weren't sure. The idea of training and education had to be there. But where were the resources, the source, where are the people going to come from? Of course, we started changing our intake forms to ask things differently, to start team asking, hey, did you know that we do this as well? Just kind of, we're doing something different instead of giving.
Yeah.
So we're trying to not entice them, I guess, encourage them
just
to help themselves. Yeah. If you want to help yourself, we want to help you more. You know, try to kind of move you along the line. So that's where we're headed, you know, right now. So the things we were doing, they're going to shrink a little bit because, you know, they still need food. They still need these other things. I say things because what we want to give them, we want to empower them to manage things for themselves. I mean, there's always going to be the need They can never put us out of business because I think the word just talks about we're just here to take care of the widows, the orphans, the poor.
Right.
And I think we're just always going to be there. So I think we just do a better job at it. And again, if we can change one life, the gentleman I'm speaking of, we can do that once. I think the number starts speaking to itself. 1 is 3, 3 is 9. It just keeps going. And after a while, 2 or 3 years into it, the community has been impacted greatly by people know how to manage their money. They're going to be safer within themselves. They're going to be better themselves on how they do what they do.
Well, I mean, yeah, I just think of Jesus' line, you will always have the poor among you. But that does not mean that we should not be working to eradicate poverty and helping
Exactly.
people through those things.
Exactly.
As you were talking, I was also just thinking, I'm just the cynic or whatever. I know better, but I just can hear someone saying like, wait, why would I give money to a ministry that's just going to give money to someone else? Why do we need some kind of pipeline here? But hopefully, if they think about that question for just a minute, there's so many logistics that goes into responsibly giving money away. I mean, it sounds kind of like a ridiculous thing, like, oh, sure, anyone will take it, but you can actually set when helping hurts thing. If you can give money away, and you can actually be hurting people,
Sure,
and stifling their growth and development. And so, I love that you guys have you're working the triage sense of like, well, they're never going to get to this if we don't do this, but we've got a vision for how do we carry them all the way through that. And it sounds like the organization's in a cool growth stage for that. But I just also, if you were doing nothing else other than being responsible vetters and distributors of finances, that is a huge worthwhile thing, for the community. Because I don't think it's gotten easier. I mean, I do want to ask you, the housing situation's gotten more difficult. The food scarcity thing has gotten more difficult. How have you seen that hitting your people that you're working with?
Well, there's real concern there. I mean, again, back to understanding where to go and what to do. You've got to share that with them. So, for instance, the phone is amazing. Little mini computers in your hand.
Yes.
I think about the class. We did Tech Home with 7 seniors. Had 2 ladies in the class, super excited. They graduated last Tuesday. We had this great little, cut the cake, have fun. And Tuesday, the first thing I said, what are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do? She said, I'm going to email my son. So your question is, how do we figure that? How do we do what we do and make those changes? Again, you start small as you can, but with a new resource in hand, as another one said, I can now even shop online. I can do this. I can look this up and kind of figure out what's going on. Again, information is key. I mean, if you don't know, you just don't know. If you don't know how to find it, don't have the tools to do that, you still don't know.
So just to track with what you're saying, you do a class that helps people know how to use their phones. Is that what you're saying?
Computer literacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to I don't even know how. I mean, I had a guy tell me it's this phone thing is taking over everything, and he wasn't that old of a guy, but he's like, it's kind of ridiculous that I can't even volunteer. I cannot volunteer at my own church without my phone.
Wow.
I thought that is kind of weird, but that's where we're at. There's so many things you can't do without a phone. We were talking about events yesterday that you almost couldn't get into a certain event without. You have to have your phone. You can't scan it. You can't get in. Yeah, that's just interesting.
Yeah. No, I think every bit of what we do really impacts them, in so many different ways that for us who we know, we understand, we can use it, we're equipped.
Things that we take for granted that of course I'm going to know how to do that.
Yeah.
Or I remember the first time I ever heard that there were people that, why are you doing cooking classes? What in the world are you doing cooking classes for impoverished people? They don't know how to cook at all.
Yeah.
They only live off of fast food. And I remember just thinking, really? But that took me aback so much that they never had some kind of mentor or somebody that was walking with them or showing them or nurturing them to know something as basic as I was that single college guy at one point, but even then I still knew enough to survive,
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And even get the right amount of veggies in to be healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no concept of that, even not even knowing where to begin.
It's like exposing people to things that hadn't been shared when they were kids. I mean, just stop and think about it. I don't have a lot. My family has never had a lot. We've been poor. To think about a young man who lives, on 406 that can see the mountain, never been there, not exposed to it.
Right.
How do you...
So just say it again, because I feel like you could have missed. There's kids that have seen Lookout Mountain, but have never actually been to Lookout Mountain. Is that what you just said?
I probably couldn't tell you how many. The number would stagger you.
Yeah. Same with the river, right? There's so many kids in this town that have never been to the river.
Yeah, I mean, the closest is Coolidge Park is where they can get to, for the most part, when you think about access. But again, people have to be exposed to the world in ways, the goodness that out there, the resources that they have. And if you're not exposed to it, you just have no idea. I mean, I got 4 kids, and Elaine and I both said, we're going to expose our kids to as much as we can so their imagination can be as creative as possible. You can see it, you can start imagining it and go beyond that. But if you can't see anything any different, I've got a guy that I met, older guy. I say he's an older guy, but he still acts like a kid. His radius is quick mark. I hate to say it, the drug house. And I can't even remember the laundromat. Those are his space in his community.
And he's about how old?
30.
Okay. And that's what he knows.
That's what he knows. Now, let's take that same guy to a grocery store. This sounds strange, but this is live. This is since I've been here in the midst of not only working Hope, but just, caring for people. Someone can go into Fresh Market and look at a meat market and like, what is that? 24-year-old doesn't know what a cucumber is.
Oh, wow.
So to your point, least of resistance. You go to fast food, you learn what you like. Kentucky Colonel's is alive. American Wings is alive. I mean, you got the food, they're there. That's where they go. And if they've grown up in a family where no one really prepared a lot, they don't know a lot. I mean, I forgot to mention that we have a pretty large building, almost 5.5 acres, and we have a very large garden in back. We harvest what we grow. In the fall, community comes and they do the U-pick, and they can pick as much okra as they want. So we're trying to, you talk about cooking classes, expose them to as much as you can, and you see their life change because they've never been exposed to it. So when you've been in poverty, what you see is what you've been told, and you stay there, and it's just perpetuated. So my mama didn't tell me, my grandmama didn't tell me, I don't know, but what I do know is what they told me. And if it's limited, the opportunities are limited. So, even in what we do, we try to create the idea of exposure, whether you're young or old. We got our first camp coming up here this June. And, Camp 180. The idea is, here's where you are. We want to share enough with you in 5 to 6 weeks, or you're going to see something totally different. It's going to be a total 180. Like, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. But I do know what. I know this now. I mean, we've got culinary. We got garden work. We got computer literacy. We got digital literacy. We got some folks going to work with art. Again, trying to open the mind, get them to be creative, and just to think about opportunity. If you're not around it, it's just not going to be seen. I've heard in the past to be like, they won't let me do it. And I keep asking, who's they? They just say, won't let me do it. They don't feel like anybody cares enough to help them enough to do anything that they see and don't understand. So if we can expose them to as much as we can, every way we can, it gives them more opportunity.
And this, I want to dive into this just for a moment, because, this is the thing that I'll hear is something along the lines of, well, the poor are poor by choice. They've done something to get themselves there. The reason why they're struggling the way they're struggling is because of lifestyle choices, mistakes that they were making, just stupid decisions. People will say that judgmentally. Now, are there people that are poor because of that? Yes.
Yes.
But there are so many people that are poor for more of what you're describing. And just to sort of I'm just trying to push back a little bit. I know these are stereotypical gender roles. I'm aware of what I'm about to say sounds horrific. Well, actually, I don't have to assign gender roles. If your parent didn't teach you how to fix things around your house, I know plenty of people that refuse or are frightened or don't attempt to fix things around their home because they were never shown how. Mm-hmm. And there's emotional hurdles they have to overcome to do that, or fix something on their car, maybe. Or it could be, okay, I've got this garment that just needs a very quick, easy fix on the seam. But, a lot of people in my generation don't know how to do that. Whereas before, when that was being shown how to do it, people would do it. But how many people do you know that are just going to say, well, I'm going to learn this skill set in order to do that on a regular basis? A lot of people won't, because, lack of confidence, lack of the emotional energy, lack of the time, and people that are in impoverished situations. I mean, I remember when we were going around the College Hill area, and we were praying for people. And I remember meeting the guy who, he was working two jobs, but neither of them paid what a lot of people get paid in one job. Mm-hmm. And he didn't have the time to go, just learn stuff. I mean, there are people that genuinely feel trapped, and then they go through other things that other people go through, but their situation's much harder. You're getting older, your health and your energy are waning, and you just feel hopeless, or I can't escape. And then I'm not saying that they're excused when they go toward drugs or alcohol, but those kinds of oppressive situations, difficult situations, make those people certainly more vulnerable to making those lifestyle choices. So not excusing, but I'm saying there is stuff that we can do to help by mercy that helps people have that kind of hope to move out of those things. Anyway, sorry, you just got me pent up on a little bit of a soapbox there.
No, I think that's okay. Just keep in mind, there's too many layers to say. Yeah, I know you're generalizing.
I'm way generalizing, yes.
So I'll give you an example.
Oversimplifying.
I would not have known I was poor as a kid. Mm. But I think I was as I look back on it. Here's the reason why. My mom worked. My dad worked. He was in construction. She was in nursing. We had an opportunity to move from the inner city. I won't say opportunity, it just happened. We moved from the inner city to the suburbs. There were some times things got tight. And as a little kid, that would probably by second or third grade, I remember going down to the fire station. The fire station for a kid, is like, it's kind of cool. So first off, where are we going? Oh, let's go. Government cheese, peanut butter, there was food. And my mom would always say, we're doing our best to make ends meet. Here's an opportunity to help meet the ends. I mean, at the end of the day, had a little extra. And so again, your education level kind of dictates what kind of job you can get. How hard you even want to work dictates what. And again, they come from the country, so they were doers. We had gardens, we grew stuff. I love playing in it. I love gardens. I mean, I got 9 boxes on my deck, so I grow my own herbs and stuff. And I have land, I just haven't had the time to do more with it. But my family's always been self-sustaining. They knew, how to take care of themselves. So all the things you're saying, I can say, yes, it's true. That's just one aspect. There's one layer of that.
Right.
If you're from the country, you live in the country, you took care of everything. If something broke, someone knew how to take care of it. You're in the city, there's the confines of where you're at. There's certain things, you're not exposed to. So there's a lot of, I don't know how to do that because I've never seen anybody do it. No one else is doing it. It's broken, it's gone. So there's just so many different ways when you think about poverty and why they stay there. Again, you learn from who raises you, in essence. And, you get a college park. I don't know Chattanooga, but there's places you can go where, it's just a lot of people living. A lot of people don't have a lot. And then you've got all those who care and you got those who don't care. So you got this full array of I'm going to take what I want versus I'm going to earn what I get. And there's stuff all in between. Right. So it's a matter of, again, if they're exposed to some things, I think everyone is willing to learn. But we have barriers within and there's barriers outside. So some of the barriers we carry probably more than we should because what we know is what we've been told. Sometimes that what you hear is not true, but you don't know any difference because you love the person who told you. It's kind of one of those things. Right. How do you disbelieve someone who's taking care of me who says X? Right. And it's so far from X, it's just like, oh my gosh, but it's perpetuated. It's carried on and passed on. Like for me, all those situations when mom said we don't have a lot, she never said that, but I look back on it in comparison to kids and families I've seen growing up, I probably would put us in that category. Yep. She only promised 3 things to me. I will love you. I will keep a shelter over your head and I will feed you. And those things, as an early age, I just remembered. So I learned early to do my part in the family, trying to help out because of those things. Because if things got tight, I didn't cry. I didn't get on the floor and do a tantrum because I had to have something. I understood that if I wanted it, it would come in time, or it wasn't meant to be. I mean, I got a Texaco Orla boat, and I got that when I was 7. And I asked for it, and she said she couldn't do it. And that's when she told me those 3 things. In the midst of that, at Christmas time, it was there. I was 7. I'm 68 years old. I have it on a shelf at home still. And I remember her telling me, I will love you, I will feed you, and I will keep a shelter over you. I remember that. And I can say it through all my life. My parents gave me nuggets. They were doing their best to give me, they moved from the inner city to say, we wanted you to see something different and more. Different community. I mean, my first bout with racism was in 3rd grade at Cub Scouts when I came home and I told my dad, said, hey, Johnny's daddy said, and so-and-so's daddy said, and that began my education about being different. And just stop and think about it. I mean, if you're around people like yourself and everybody doing so, you just don't know. But there's always these frames where, these things are, generally saying, hey, my daddy said you, and all these things. And so I grew up knowing there's this difference, but had a family that encouraged me. The fact that you know and they don't, you actually know twice as much. I mean, little things like that to keep me encouraged about whatever I could encounter just because my color was different. So within even that framing, again, you have a Black community. Some are going to do very well. Some are going to do very poorly. They're doing very poorly because it's kind of what they've known to do. And it's hard to change that unless someone shows you that. That's why working with the youth, the idea of us getting to the youth again, being mentors, showing them that there's so many opportunities out here and you've got a gift in you. God's gifted every single one of us differently than anyone else. And he can use us in any way he wants. And sometimes you got to help them see it. And so even if they're adult at 64, never having a computer, a group of seniors saying, oh my gosh, there's so much. I heard there's so much here. And they never had the opportunity. So, I mean, they're always going to be here. We have to do our part to give them opportunity, because every time I see someone, that's the word that comes to mind, as an opportunity for share Christ, to get to know them, see where they are, meet a need, and can I push that idea like you can do more? There's more there. Let's find it. Let's see what we can do to help that. So, I mean, all you said, yes.
Yeah.
And more.
And more. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so tell me about where, you spoke a little bit about the future. What are some of the biggest challenges your organization's facing right now, where you're just like, this is what keeps me up at night as a nonprofit?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I got I think a really good answer. So for those that may hear this, you know what, we have 8 people doing the work that we do, and we survive on volunteers. We will have anywhere between 3,500 and 4,000 volunteers in a year. Thousands, a lot of hours.
Yes.
And keep in mind, let me qualify one. When you have groups come in and they bring 95 people in, and each person works 9 hours, do the math.
Right.
And so with mission teams, do the math. And we have serve day throughout the year, do the math. It just multiplies. So it seems big, but we can't get the work done without volunteers helping us do the work. So in the midst of that, for me to say we need a pastor to be intentional about discipling, evangelism, I got to pay that person. There's 8 of us, and at times we all have to stop doing what we've been told to do to help another team member to get done what they need to do. Mm-hmm. We get so much food, and sometimes it's all hands on deck, because we've got to take that food, we got to break it down, we got to get it sealed, we got to get it put away. Friday mornings, There's 5 of us.
It's going to go bad.
Miss V is in charge of coordinating all our food going in and out, but she cannot take the food as it comes in and prep it for it to go out by herself. So there's 5 of us doing that on a Friday morning.
And volunteers,
they can help,
but sometimes they can't be consistent.
My biggest need right now, for instance, literally a number I had in my mind, and I can kind of define the number well. If I had a gift at $350, I could take a breath. Because in that breath, I could do work better, because I would bring the people that I need to do the work well. And that way we can actually do more. So, we can only do so much with what we have. It's back to if I can build a team and we're doing well now. Imagine it's like, say, a couple of my team leads, if they had an assistant, we can do a whole lot more. So, that's a hard sell. Hey, I'll donate. We'll steward that well, but we need to build team. It's operations. You know how it is. Yep. They want money to go to the programming that's done, but we can do twice the programming if I had twice the people. So at the end of the day, we've done in the last 3 years, I can tell you, we have a form we keep where we pray. When a prayer is answered, we put it on a sheet. 8 by 11, 4 pages of prayers answered in the last 3 years.
That's awesome.
And the gifts that come, our roof was in disarray. It's taken 3 years to get it fixed. HVAC, this building was built in 1959. Mm-hmm. All the systems were almost original systems. And stop and think about an old building and the expenses and utilities and on and on and on.
Yes.
Well, we've been blessed. We've been able to replace 4 of those units. We have an opportunity with a partnership to replace the last 2. Wow. The roof is totally fixed. We're working on the interior updates. There's so many things that we need to do. So the kind of things we need to do oftentimes doesn't lend the funding for that because they want to go to program, and we have to honor our gifts to put it where they want it to be used.
Right.
But if I had what I needed, I would build more team. I'll get the things we need to do, what we need to do in the community.
I think you need one of those or a few of those mission teams to just come in and help you with your space if possible.
We have every room in the building has a list, what has to be done. And I got a wish for things too. So there's a need side and here's a wish side for every inch on the grounds that we have on what we can do. Wow. So when someone asks me, do I know what I need? I got 3 categories. I can line every single down. I can put a tag on it and I can say, that's what I need. Where's your heart saying you want to rest with me? So there's a lot there, but building team, to be intentional to create the change in the community that we want, being able to meet more people's needs. That's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Yes. So let's say somebody's listening and they are wanting to be involved. How do they get involved?
Well, they can go to our website. There's a way, info at we are HFIC. We are Hope for the Inner City. It used to be a really long email address, so we kind of shrunk it down a little bit. But they could inquire by going to the site, and there's an info, and someone will respond back. If they want information about something, we can respond back to them. They can call. We have people that call. And, Gary Davis is our community engagement coordinator. So I get a lot of calls because I'm inviting people all the time. Do tours often. Tours basically is showing you the grounds, the building, giving you a little history on what it was, kind of what has happened. And I always have to say, this is where we're headed. You got to know where we're going. And I have a good site. Our team has a really good site on where we want to go. We want to try to do in the community. Our impacts. Impacts are basically comes around, their well-being. The clinics do that. Health idea of what health is. Eating right, cooking classes, we do canning classes in the fall. So again, just exposing city folks to country folks things, canning. I don't do that. Well, we did that every year. When I was a kid, we canned everything. So in the cold seasons, we had food. So we still try to, express those kind of ideas. But we do a lot of things just to kind of if you don't know, let me show you how. Let us show you how you can help yourself.
So, let's say there's a pastor listening and he's saying, okay, I'd like my congregation to get involved with this on a regular basis, or we want to do something, bring in one of these teams every summer. Are these teams that come in from Chattanooga? Or are they coming from all over?
We have a couple of groups who have been very faithful locally, who with youth groups that want their kids to understand what's just in the valley. So I'm talking about some of the, those groups on the mountain. Yeah. So they come down. They wouldn't mind Signal Mountain Press. We do a venture with them. They don't only serve us, but other ministries in the city. Yeah. We're kind of hosting that. So they'll bring 40-some kids and they're dispersed in the community. Will's Harvest is another ministry that will go and serve another group called P52, taking care of people. But they need hands and feet too. So we get to host them and enjoy their presence on a annual basis.
And do they come and stay overnight somewhere? Okay, where do they stay?
They have been with us this year, a little bit of a change. We've been connecting with a lot more churches who have space. In the past, we let them occupy some of the rooms we have because it is a pretty large building, 19,000 square feet. It's kind of like a classroom building. Instead, it would stay there. But where we're evolving to, we really need our space for the training and things we want to do. We're trying to offset that. So we've just got some partners and some churches in the community, 3 right now, who said, hey, if you need their group to stay, they can stay here. So again, collaboration we talked about earlier. We're trying to do some things. We need help. And the churches, we help them any way we can because they're part of the community too. It's not just individuals.
Right.
Sometimes we have to help. We step into some small churches that need some renovation and needs help. And we always make sure they know everything that we do so they can take care of their congregation. So then in return, they give us space for our EMTs to stay there.
Okay.
They come in for a week. The trips are generally a week. We do, starting the first weekend in June, every other week we have a team coming in. Local groups that want to come, they just call. And like I said, we know what we need done, the work that needs done. And, seniors, again, we do lawn service in the summertime, when we have people coming in. So I would say those that are local will be more apt to help us with some yard work for our seniors.
Right.
We don't try to save work for the teams, but we need to have work for the teams.
Right.
And so, again, we reach out to churches and individuals who, if we don't know everybody who needs help, so hey, UMTs are coming, it's time for home repairs. Who do you know? And we have quite a few on the list. And like I said, we can do probably about 15 over 12 weeks.
Wow.
15 homes. So.
Okay. And then, if you were just casting a vision for, maybe even imparting a little bit of what struck you first about this ministry and the need, and casting a vision for the answer to that, even of giving people a vision for what this city could be like if we did some of these things we've talked about. Well, if we really push this threshold forward, maybe the poor are still with us, but where could we get to? What do you see the hope for? What's getting you up and driving you forward with some of this?
You say vision and sight. When I got the hope, and I still do it. I walk the grounds in the morning. I don't do it every day. But one thing that rests on me, God has given us so much, and we overlook so much. Abundance. For those who have much, to realize that, and they know they can't take it with you. There's other things. So we got all these stuff matters more than it should. But I see there's an abundance of resources here in Chattanooga across the gambit, and those that need help. I just feel like the word just says there's a responsibility for us to care for others, and for people to think about their abundance and what they have. I'm not just talking about their money. I'm talking about their heart. I'm talking about, can you give time? Can you mentor a kid? Can you kind of help us work in the garden? Your time, your skill, the 3 or 4 guys that are project managers. I don't know. I can hammer. I'm a great laborer, but don't give me a project and say I got to figure it all out. So all the things that we have, it's available to us all. But how can we slow down enough to see, can we pick a space or a couple of spaces, say, I'm going to serve? I mean, there's just abundance and hope in itself, just where it sits alone. There's an opportunity for community to really thrive. And I think we're seeing, and we're hoping we're going to continue, that they know that we're there and they trust us. Can we get back to trusting each other? There's so much of a divide for so many different reasons. If we can just slow down and let go and just stop and think, I don't really need a lot. And there's people who really need a lot. Can I do something with what I have? Help a ministry to serve, understand them well enough to ask the question. Like I said, at the end of the day, we can't take what we have. God didn't create it to be that way.
Right.
So.
You're bringing up an interesting thing. There's been, there's people that are like, well, I don't really feel like there's many places I can serve, or I don't feel like I have that much to offer. And we take for granted how much we've got. And maybe it is that you don't feel in the circles that you run in, you have that much to offer. But then maybe you're just not around people that you're not around the right needs, so to speak, because then you find out, well, the things that you take for granted that you can do that seem like secondhand nature and simple. And yes, maybe everyone in your friend group does know how to do or does have. You go here, right in your own backyard of your own town, and you'll find a lot of people who will look at what you have as life transforming, life giving, life rescuing. And then all of a sudden your perspective's completely 180'd on you.
Back to, what does abundance mean to you? If it's beyond just what you have and see, it's what you can go out and do something elsewhere. You're allowing growth in some way. Our logo is a picture of a house and it has a little flower on it. We decided to think about who we were and what we're trying to do. We're a place. Hope is a place that we want people to know they can come to and be seen and be heard. You matter. In the midst of that, we figure if we can create some kind of growth that's going to allow them to change. And in doing so, again, it goes back to the numbers. So, the tours I do, invariably, I have no idea what's going to strike a person.
Right.
And that's why I just come and see our space. Let me tell you a story. We talked about the beginnings. Kelly Chapman, one of her, I think, and I never met her, but, forgive me, family, if I say this wrongly, but I think one of the first things she wanted to know, do you know Jesus? I know you're hungry, but first off, do you know Jesus? And if you do, let's talk about that more and come on in, let me help you. And so in the midst of how we do what we do, it's being conscious of others. And you know what? We get in our boxes. And I lived in a little bit of a box. Like I said, when I got here, I cared, but I didn't see the caring like what I'm doing now in such a way that my box walls are down. It's flat. It's nothing that I can't do if there's an opportunity to help someone. Again, our faith tells us that. And then the works of it all, you can't do one without the other. I believe there's a lot of believers, they don't know how to serve. If you guys can hear me now, come and take a visit. You may walk through and learn a little something. Your heart may not be tickled or whatever that is that you want to give or want to help. But invariably, I've not had anybody come through there and say, oh my gosh, and I never know what they're going to say that they land on. And it's amazing. It's so many different variations of what people see and I want to do something. I have a couple that just moved here to Chattanooga, haven't been here 3 weeks. And they kind of make me think about Elaine and I. Before they moved, they wanted to find a ministry. They want to find something they can do to help in the community before they got here. They donated to Hope before they even knew Hope physically.
Wow.
They started doing that. And they looked for affiliation. Who's Hope affiliated with? Saw New City. And it was a time of New City's breakfast. Here's where God has providence. I happened to be giving my testimony that Saturday. And this man had just decided we were the ministry, saw the church we're affiliated with, saw there was a breakfast, came to the breakfast that Saturday morning, texted me on Sunday. I saw them on Monday, gave them a tour, and oh my gosh, we're going to figure it out because we're going to help. We're going to support. And actually, I went back because the name and just trying to remember, and I'm a numbers guy. They had given before they moved here because they made the decision early. And if that's not God,
right,
being involved in some of this, there's this providence how things happen. And I've just learned that, to be still and to wait, put the effort out, do your best every single day, and the return's going to come. Mm-hmm. I don't have any expectation on any one person having to do any one thing. What's your heart tell you to do? That's what leads us to make a difference. And I just think the work that we do and many nonprofits, the work that they do, people will slow down and just to go and just listen and see the abundance that we have, the overflowing abundance that we have. And the fact if you just share a little bit more than you have, I think that changes community.
Yes.
I think it makes a huge difference.
You don't have to go halfway across the world to do it.
Don't have to.
Right here in your own backyard.
Absolutely. Every city's the same.
Fabulous. I'm hoping just that as people have listened, they've been edified and challenged and pushed, and maybe some people will come out of this that have some kind of encounter with the Holy Spirit like you have. That's my prayer as we're closing today. Thank you for the time and for honoring us being here. God bless you in your mission, and thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with the next episode. Hey everybody, just wanted to let you know about our website, praychattanooga.com. If you visit, you'll find all sorts of resources that will help you develop a stronger prayer life. For pastors and ministry leaders, we have prayer networks that meet all across town from Lafayette to north of Saudi Daisy. We have prayer resources that help you learn more about prayer and deepen your prayer life. And we have retreats that are happening here all the time. You can come for a custom retreat, or you can come for one of the ones that we host. You'll find all of that, again, on our website, praychattanooga.com.